everyone. Welcome back to our Student Spotlight series. Today we have a new student with us who's named Alvernia. It's our pleasure today to welcome her to chat about her experience with CCIR. I'm Charlotte, one of the outreach coordinators here at CCIR. So firstly, can you just introduce yourself? So tell us where you're from, what year you are in school, and then what made you seek out CCIR.
So I am Alvernia, and currently I'm a 12th grade in Indonesia. I live in Jakarta. And actually, one of the reason why I did CCIR was because of my macroeconomics teacher. One day he talked about the informal sector, and that made me curious to know what is it like? How do people behave in the informal sector and like how are we supposed to move them back into the formal economy? So that moment really sparked my interest, and that's the reason why I decided to research more about the informal sector and connect it to digital finance.
Nice. And then can you give us a general idea of what your course was about, kind of what you looked into?
Okay, so my research paper is just an informal sector in Indonesia and also a deep dive into digital finance. So we researched about the definition of informal economy, and we also took data from Badan Pusat Statistik Indonesia, which focuses on the data from 2023 of the informal sector in Indonesia across different cities, 6 cities in Indonesia, and 5,352 respondents. So from that data, we searched about the demographics, the behavior, and we tried to see what they don't have in that data. So based on the data we found, we saw that there weren't really much about digital finance. And that's the reason why I decided to conduct my own research. So I went to the streets and I personally interviewed 85 street workers around Jakarta to just ask them about how they are like living in an informal sector, and also finding out about whether they have access to digital finance, like phones, and whether they have like a banking account and something like that, to be able to see not only the demographics and how they are like in the informal sector, but to also connect it to what we can do and what are the solutions related to help them get out from that situation.
Interesting. And then just for those that might not be aware, do you mind defining what the informal sector is?
Okay, so informal sectors are basically people who are working, however, they aren't regulated. So they aren't registered as working in a business, and they also don't pay tax. So although this might be more convenient for a lot of people since they don't have to fill out forms and such, however, it might be a potential problem to the economy as their products and the goods that they sell will not add up to the economy's gross domestic products. So that is what we looked into and seeing how can we acknowledge that.
Right. And it also might be a bit dangerous for them, given that they don't have kind of the same safeguards and protections that formal employees would have. So a very
Yes.
important topic. So before we get into your specific research project, can you tell us, so I think you said you did an economics course where you kind of learned about this. Was that in your high school?
Yes, that was in my high school. I took AP macroeconomics and currently AP microeconomics. So that gave me a bit of background knowledge. However, when I first started CCIR, it was around the start of the year. So I didn't really have much knowledge and background about economics. So I solely went into the research just using my own passions and interests. And I'm really, really glad that my mentor, which is Professor Andrea Bernini. He really helped me guide through it, even though I didn't have that complex understanding of macroeconomics yet. But I was still able to produce and create a good research paper in the end.
Nice. And can you tell us what interests you the most about economics in general or macroeconomics specifically?
I think the idea that one small action can create a huge impact, because in macroeconomics, we learn about different graphs and how even a slight change in price can increase the interest rates. It can lead to different policies being made in order to keep like the demand and also like exchange rates between countries. So it truly encapsulates the ripple effect and how one thing can spark into a huge amount of impact. So it really interests me to delve in more to see what other small things that I can do that hopefully can create a bigger impact in my country and also in the Division of Economics.
Nice. And now we'll discuss your specific research paper a little bit more in depth. That's really amazing that you were able to conduct primary research. So can you tell us maybe how you decided on this topic firstly, and then we'll walk through your research process.
Okay, so the reason why I decided was number one, I'm interested in the informal sector. But since a lot of research papers already talked about informal sectors, especially in Indonesia, I decided to add in another interest of mine, which is digital finance, especially since we are now living in a digital era where more people pay using their phones instead of cash. I think it's a very good tool that we can utilize to make sure that everyone gets the opportunity to use this amazing tool, being able to just have this digital tool instead of just using cash. So, my primary research mainly focuses on how the current informal sector workers are using it right now and their main limitations and what they don't understand or what they cannot do in their situation. And one question that I asked all of them was whether they are interested in joining a free training if there was a free training about digital finance. So that really gave me an insight to what type of people are more open to, or if people are not open to because of certain reasons. So based on that, I was able to conduct and present an overall conclusion about the informal sector and also its correlation with digital finance.
Nice. And then was this your first time conducting some primary data collection, and what was that process like for you?
Yes, it's definitely my first time conducting primary data for such complex research and also a large scale amount of people because 85 is a lot for me personally. And even though at first I might be scared to approach them, especially since most of them are twice my age. So I really was able to train myself, challenge myself, and develop a skill to just do it and just be brave in what you do. And eventually it all paid off. I really enjoyed asking street workers. Some of them are more closed off, but others are very open. They talk to me about their families and about their kids, and it was very interesting to hear each of their stories.
Nice. And did you do like a survey or did you have a qualitative interview with them? What was that like?
So I prepared some questions that I also took reference from the survey that they use for the World Bank. And from these questions, I just went up to them and verbally asked them, since I think most of them don't really have the education to read or understand certain words. So I just asked them in a more casual tone, and I would just take down their answer. And from that, I was able to collect a gather of data. So it was definitely harder than just sending out a form to 85 people. I would actually have to go up to them and translate some words if they don't understand, or even help them understand by giving other examples and stuff like that. So, yep, it's a wonderful experience, and I'm really glad I did it.
Nice. Definitely challenging, but seems like it was really rewarding, which is great. So now can you walk us through your findings and yeah, walk us through your findings?
Okay, so since we analyzed both the World Bank data and my own personal research and survey, we found first behavior. So the reason why most people go to the informal economy is actually due to convenience and opportunity instead of what most people would assume, which is being forced into the informal economy. So, in fact, these people are willingly going to the informal economy because they think that it's good for them. So, that's one really key factor because we need to know what people like about the informal economy that we can implement into the formal economy to persuade them. And second of all, I also found a huge, strong correlation between education and the use of digital money. So, in my survey, I asked their highest education level. And I made a graph of the data, and I saw that the higher they are, especially if they already graduated high school, the more likely they're going to use digital money. And that's an important factor because now we know that in order to increase people using digital money, education is a strong factor of it. Not only that, we also saw the differences in gender. So even though male and females has around the same level of education in Indonesia, we still saw that male has a higher chance of using digital money or being the main owner of the business, since I guess there are also cultural and a lot of other external factors that plays into it. So it might not solely be education, but also the cultural, the how we are usually like day to day. And from that, we also try to see whether age correlates to it. Because I believe we all know that the older you are, the less likely you're going to use anything digital. Because maybe people like the traditional styles. Like I know my grandpa would rather use cash than try to do something on his phone that he probably doesn't understand. So we try to graph age into it. And obviously, we see an inverse relationship where the older you are, the less digital money you have. But what's most interesting is actually we graphed age and education into it. And we saw that even the oldest person doing the survey, however, if he graduated from a high school degree, like if he has a high school degree or bachelor degree, he is still more financially literate and he uses more likely to be able to use digital money compared to the youngest person that doesn't graduate from high school. So that really showed the importance of education and how having education can eliminate the factor of age. So no matter how old you are, having a high education can really give you that advantage of being able to utilize digital money in our economy. And lastly, we also saw about the likeliness to join free financial training programs. And yes, same. I think a lot of people are more likely to join a free training program if they're more educated, because then they would know what are the benefits and what possibilities that they can do if they do have one. And lastly, this is very, very interesting because this is something that I didn't see from other research paper, is actually analyzing what each gender sees or perceive digital money. Because in fact, most males don't use digital money because they have a fear of being scammed. They are scared of participating in digital finance, they're scared to lose their money, and because of that, they're more likely to not use digital money and just use cash because they get the sense of control and more trust in being able to control their own money. Whereas for girls, the reason why they don't use digital money is because they lack the understanding. So they're not scared, and it's not that they prefer cash, but it's just because that they don't know how to use it and they don't know why they should use it. So understanding that these two genders have different limitations is really, really important because governments wouldn't have to imply a whole general policy system. We can actually focus on different genders and address specific barriers and limitations that can allow them to eventually be more willing to participate in digital finance. So those are the research that I found from both my data and also the World Bank data. And I'm really glad because it allows me to understand deeper about the informal sector, especially in Indonesia.
That's also interesting. I thought it was really interesting that education kind of mediated the age differences. I would assume that even if you were uneducated but you were younger, then you would be more comfortable using digital banking. But it's interesting that if you're older and educated, you're more likely to use digital banking than if you're younger and uneducated. That's super interesting. And that's really cool that you were able to find something that other research hasn't shown yet. That's incredible. Um, were these all kind of findings that you were expecting to find, or was a lot of it things that were surprising to you as well?
I think definitely there are a lot of things that I didn't expect, especially like the thing you mentioned, like about the age and education, how small age plays into the factor of using digital money compared to education. So, although overall I kind of expected it, the thing that surprises me most is how strong it is, how strong the correlation is. Like, I believe everyone knows how important education is, but I didn't know that it was this strong. So, because of this, I just realized that there are a lot of things that we can definitely encourage other people to do, and we get to focus on the things that actually matter. So yes, it really gave me a huge insight on the informal economy that I didn't know before.
That's really great. And the findings seem like they're specific enough to where you could definitely use these in the future to kind of inform inform interventions to try and increase the use of digital banking. So my last question about your specific research, can you tell us where you are in the publication process? Are you hoping to publish this research, and what kind of stage you're at right now?
Okay, so currently I am sending my paper for the CCIR academics to review and hopefully giving me a suggestion on where I should publish it. I really, really want to publish this journal because I believe that it can be very useful, not only for governments, but for anyone in general. Because personally, for me, because of this, I realized the importance of education. And this research made me start my own project, which is CoinQuest, where I go to each schools around Jakarta, teaching about the importance of dreaming big and about how to manage money. And just focusing on the fundamentals of education really allows me to give impact. And overall, I think I had 3,800 students that I've taught before. So this research definitely creates an impact in how I see the world and what I prioritize. So I really, really hope that this research could be helpful for other people as well, seeing how much impact it made for me and also the people around me. So, yes, I'm very excited to see where this research paper goes.
That's incredible. So now we're just going to shift into discussing just your general experience with CCIR. So firstly, can you tell us what your experience was like in the program doing a high-level research project like this as a high school student?
Definitely in the beginning, it's something different. It's not the usual thing that you usually learn in school. It's much more advanced, much more complicated. But I'm so thankful that I got a mentor that is very like it's a huge expert in this division of economics. So I got Dr. Andrea Bernini, and he is amazing at economics. He answered all my questions, and he truly is able to clear out any questions or any confusion that I had. So even though the topic is very complex and it's very hard to understand at first, he was able to decide break it down into things that I was able to understand as a high school student. And I think just being involved in this entire academic program is very helpful because if it were to be easy, then it wouldn't have made a huge impact to anyone who did the research. I think the fact that it's hard and challenging made the whole made the whole paper more rewarding because you get a sense of achievement, being able to finally do something outside your comfort zone, doing something outside your expectations of yourself. So after doing the CCIR program, I was really proud of myself. I'm really glad that coming from a high school student who barely knew anything about economics to being someone who published a research about economics. So I'm very glad that I got the guidance and support from my CCIR counselor, mentor, and everyone there because it made the whole process easier and way enjoyable.
That's really great. And it definitely is a fantastic opportunity that you were able to collect primary data, which is wonderful. So you spoke a little bit about Dr. Bernini, who's one of our amazing mentors. Can you tell us what it was like kind of in our programs, we really like to emphasize the aspect of mentorship as opposed to the traditional teacher, where in the first half of your course, you're learning a lot about the subject, and then into the second half of the course where you start to conduct your research. Can you talk to us about how he mentored you, how he guided you through your own kind of discoveries and learning process?
Yes, so at school, I'm kind of used to just being like listening and sitting down the entire class, just writing down notes. However, he really encouraged me to talk about my ideas, about what I want to know, about questions or things I'm interested in. And that really helped me align what topics I'm interested in and which are not. Because I believe that a mentor shouldn't ask you what to do, but they should ask you what you want to do. So, in fact, in the beginning, I didn't plan on writing about digital finance. In fact, I was trying to write about informal economy and the difference between before COVID and after COVID. So that's a whole two different type of research, and the fact that I can go from one thing to another is truly shows how he's very flexible and how he really prioritizes what I want instead of what he thinks is easiest, which I think is amazing because I believe because we spent like so much time on COVID and researching about the past year. So the fact that he was able to just do and follow what I want to do is very, I feel very appreciated and I feel very seen, especially as a high school student being mentored by someone who graduated from Oxford. I think it's amazing, and being able to learn from him, being able to get tips and understand how he also does his research and have a role model to look up to throughout the entire process was very helpful to me, and it really made a great addition to my whole research journey.
Nice. I think you brought up a great point that for all of our programs, we really do want it to be student driven, where, we aren't just giving you a research topic that you now need to research. We really want to guide you to figuring out what you want to research and support you through, through your research that you want to do, which is really great. Um, a few more questions about your topic. So, obviously, this is quite a niche topic, and even you said that you are finding things that there isn't a lot of current research on in the public. What was it like getting access to learning about such a niche course compared to high school or even many undergraduate level courses that are much more broad?
It was definitely very interesting. And this is for me like one thing whenever I finish a CCIR um like a CCIR mentorship, like a session, I would always go to my parents' room and I'll be like, Mama, Papa, do you know about this? Like I just found out this today and it was so amazing. It's so interesting. And they were so happy, and they would just be like, that's so interesting that you found that, the fact that you learned something new. Because I'm not even exaggerating. Like every single session I had, it truly opened like another side of my brain. Like I learned something that I had never done before. And it's really helpful because in the world, you have to open yourself to various different types of topics. You can't just stick to the school curriculum where they teach you the same things as everyone else. So having this opportunity to truly go into something different, to be able to see the world in a different perspective than what they teach you at school, brought me a lot of insights and brought me a lot of different things that I get to put into my life and also put into other people's life and share about that to all my friends and surroundings.
That's really great. A few more questions for you. Firstly, has this course given you any insights into your future? Do you think it's maybe informed or shaped how you think of your path moving forward at all?
Yes, definitely. I think because of this research, I become more inclined to major in economics and hopefully work as someone in the economic side of Indonesia. Because from this, I saw that through one research or even through one question, you can truly see how big the situation is. You get to truly change so many things. And having that opportunity of oops, sorry. I think I got disconnected.
There we go. You're back. You were saying having that opportunity.
Oh, okay. So, yes, just having the opportunity to being able to learn about new things and going one-on-one, surveying other people really made me see how big of an impact I can make in the economic system. And I really, really want to help more people so they can have access to other things that other people have. Because for me, I think datas in the World Bank shouldn't just be a number. I think that behind every number, we have to acknowledge that there is a person, there is a life, and they're all living different lives that they might not be able to change themselves. So I believe that through this research, it has proven that having that opportunity and privilege was able to bring me insight and bring other people insight so that we can all collectively help those who are less privileged and less fortunate. So yeah, I really love the whole CCIR journey. It truly shaped my perspective, not only about what major I want to do, but also about my outlook on life. So I'm very grateful for this.
That's really incredible. And it seems like you're already like creating your own interventions through going to teach at schools, which is really great. My last question for you, what would you say to someone who asked you what the value of doing a project or a program like this is, especially for a high school student?
I believe that doing a project like this is just being able to put yourself out there in the real world. Because if you're just staying in high school, I believe that there are a lot of rules and a lot of system that protects you. And it's just like those daily things, you know, how a pair, if it's like, okay, let me put this in an analogy where like if a kid is just at home all day with their parents, then they wouldn't be able to truly see what it's like outside. They wouldn't be able to be independent, grow, or even be challenged by small things. So I think doing projects like these are amazing to develop not only your skills but also your mindset on things, because if we're just doing the same things repetitive every day based on what the system they have created for us, then we won't be able to produce anything insightful. So putting ourselves out there, doing new projects outside our own comfort zone is able to test our ability to truly think outside the box and also reach the full potential that we're meant to do.
I think that's really great insights. So that brings us to the end of our interview. Thank you so much for chatting to me, and congratulations again on your nomination to our Spotlight series.
Thank you so much.